Tuesday, June 9th, 2015, here at City Council in Port Richey. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Go Bulls. Go Bulls. Madam City Clerk, roll call.
Yes, sir. Please let the record show that Chairwoman Eloise Taylor is absent. Vice Chair Bill Colombo.
Here.
Member Steve O'Neill.
Here, that 10 minutes was fast.
Member Nancy Britton. Here. Member Terrence Rowe.
Here.
City Attorney Joseph Public.
Here.
And City Manager Tom O'Neill.
Here.
Okay, first thing we got is the approval of CRA minutes of May 12th, 2015. Do I have a motion?
Motion to approve.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, we have a first and a second. Anybody have any adds, additions, subtractions, changes? All in favor?
Aye.
All right. Announcements, Mr. City Manager.
None at this time.
Mr. City Attorney.
Nothing. Thank you.
All right, comments from the general public. All right, we got nothing there. Bring back up here, comments from the chairman and board members. Thank you. Comments, folks? Terry, Nancy, Steve, no comments?
CRA budget balance, do we have a number? Take your time, no rush. That's all I had. Bill.
Okay.
I was just curious.
We have no other comments. I don't have any comments either, which moves us right along to council business. Number one is resolution number 15-04. Mr. City Manager.
Yes, this was on the last CRA agenda, and that meeting and its agenda items were deferred until this meeting today. This is a resolution that does a couple of different things. It deletes the grant funding availability and eligibility for residential HVAC systems, and also the $5,000 grant for new home construction. Language was put in the resolution that will limit the available funding for this program to that amount approved by the City Council or CRA for grant funding in any fiscal year. So that effectively would cap this program at this time. And next year's allocation will be determined by the council later this year when you consider your budget matters. So I think this captured what you wanted to have. Hopefully it did so, and it's up for your consideration.
I think it has, and I feel like we've had quite a bit of discussion on this last period, and so I'm willing to approve this now, Revolution 1504-CR Residential Grant Program.
I'll second.
Well, I'm sorry, was that a motion?
Yes.
Oh, okay. You have to kind of say that.
I did. I said
No, you have to say I move to, or...
Can we ask a question now after that?
Yeah, it's just one of those things. It's the rules, Nancy.
Let me just go back.
All right.
I don't want, the
Yeah,
rules.
yeah.
Resolution, I motion to resolution
To approve?
to approve the resolution 15-04 for the CRA Residential Grant Program.
Second.
And you second. Very good. Thank you. Thank you, sir. And madam.
Question.
Discussion? Oh, you have a question?
Well, not really a question probably, because as I recall, there was a comment regarding, and I think Nancy had questioned this if I'm not mistaken, and I heard we use the word cap, but obviously before, I think if I'm correct, if there were requests but no funding at that particular point, that grant could still have taken place. Essentially when we were at zero.
This will not allow for that anymore.
Yeah. And I had a
Right.
meltdown,
Okay.
and so
Yeah, right. Well, I'm just remembering because I missed the last meeting, but I do remember the question was drawn by you. It's a very good question, and obviously that's been taken care of. So, all right, thank you.
Any other discussion on council on this one? Well, I, for one, am still against dropping the air conditioning and heating. I can certainly see dropping it down. What was the maximum before, Mr. City Manager, on heating and air conditioning?
Matching up to 5,000?
So in other words, you could buy a $10,000 unit and you could get 5,000.
Yes.
I could certainly see cutting that back. I could also see, I know the discussion discussed means testing, and I'm against means testing based on the phrase means testing, which is based on a person's income level. I still would like to see it limited to structural values under a certain dollar amount, so that you don't have a $500,000 house assessed at just the building structure, but somebody who's got a house that's assessed under $50,000. I think that, you know, there's a lot of things that can wind up leading to houses becoming empty and blighted, and lack of air conditioning is one of them. So I'm not in favor of this in that particular, as written right here. Dropping the new homes, that's fine with me, but that's my personal opinion.
Just a point here is that the funding is over pretty much on
Yeah,
this.
funding's over, funding's over.
And
yeah.
we're gonna be looking at this in the new budget, so we can go forward there.
Yeah, but we're essentially rewriting a program at this point. So, you know, if we're going to rewrite the program, we should rewrite it to what we're going to do as opposed to try to rewrite it again. Again, that's my opinion, but.
At the last meeting that you weren't here, this is what we discussed.
Right. No, I understand. You know, I understand you had discussions when I wasn't here, but now I'm here, so.
I join you, Bill. I talked about this last time this came up, and the one thing that was evident is our citizens are using this. It's the one thing they really did use, more than anything else. And I don't think you can sell a house anymore or make it any more valuable if you don't have an air conditioner. And I know there's other program with the county, but I'm more concerned because there were things that were you may not have seen that were in our packets about the commercial end of this. There's been no adjustment or anything done to the commercial end of this, so once again, the taxpayers of the city, the citizens of this city are the ones that are going to take the brunt, and I'll have no part of that.
I just want to say, again, we're at a zero, so even though we're effectively this drew more attention for the 5,000 in the new home than it did the HVAC, but we did get on the discussion. For all practical purposes, you know, we'd gone from 150 to 100 down to 50. We may go down to 0 this next time, and this won't even be a consideration. But I will bring, when we do have the discussion, I did find it at home where I've still got mountains of some old papers, and I will assure you I will bring that list. And that list has on there those who requested it, those that were funded, those addresses, and those concentrations. And I can tell you where they came from in regards to the air condition. And I'll prove it with this paperwork. So, remember initially when Ed Wench sat in this chair, the discussion at that particular time was related to a poverty formula determination in regards to some of these particular grants. You know, look, we're fine at Sand Pebble, but you know, we got grants too, and some of those grants, you know, well, all I can tell you is we got them.
And again, I mean, my position is, you know, a poverty level per se. I mean, you know, that is a burden I do not want to put on our business department or our finance department. To be able to just look at the assessed value of the structure, and it's either under or over the threshold, and that's all there is to it. Makes it a heck of a lot easier. What the income is, in certain aspects, I'm not sure I'm quite so concerned, especially in the case of rental houses that are on our east side, that we want that side to become not blighted too. Whether it's owned by somebody who has a higher income or not, I don't know, but if we can get those houses up to snuff, I think that's important. Then again, that's my view on the subject. So, you know.
Well, we had the percentages, and we don't have them this time, but we had those percentages in relation, and Aaron may even comment on this perhaps, that those particular percentages that were noted where we had painting, we had other things, they paled in comparison to the air conditions. And again, I just go back, was that the original intent, was, helping people buy new air conditions for their house, or helping folks, painting doors, et cetera, some exterior items?
Well, and you never
It's
can
probably a
tell.
broader discussion to be
You never
had,
can
but-
tell, and obviously there's a lot of things that play into what people do and when. I know, one good sweep by Citizens through here, and you might have a bazillion people wanting new roofs because Citizens says you got to have them to have your wind insurance. So I don't know,
Yeah,
so-
windows too, that's another
and
factor,
windows
because
too is
those,
another one, too.
I believe, at least I can speak for Sand Pebble that I know, you had to do different type windows, and,
Sure.
and of course they were more costly, and that's probably a help for residents there. But again, just we
Yeah.
started out with 150, we went to 100, we went to 50, and we still have the
And
5.
like I said,
believe,
yeah,
for the
we haven't come
irrigation.
up with a number yet. Yes, I
Right.
agree with you 100%.
Yeah.
So.
All right.
So it's June, and really.
But we're going to be looking at it soon. Yeah.
Yeah.
Anybody else on council before I go out for public comment? Public comment, Sander, Ms. Spalding. Who's stuck around?
Sandra Spalding, 82070 Post Road, Port Richey. You blighted the city, remember? You told the citizens it was going to be good for the citizens. We'll be able to get money to fix up our houses in the city and la-di-da-di-da. You remember? You remember?
I do.
Okay, what happened now? Hello, now the citizens are not going to be able to put air conditioning. Some people can't afford air conditioning. Okay? They need it. The house will look worse than anything without it because you're going to get mold in and out of everything. Okay? Painting, all this for the citizens. I hear you're taking everything away now. What's wrong with you people? Huh? What's wrong with you people? You blighted the city. When you guys blighted the city, what did I say to you? Guaranteed you're not going to take care of your citizens. I'm going to leave you with that. Thank you.
And I might want to add too that other programs out there are loan programs, and there's an awful lot of people that a loan doesn't help. I don't care if it's at 0.1% interest. The fact of the matter is that they don't have the money to pay it back. They're on fixed incomes, and to put up to come up with the second half, or to come up however the loan programs work. I don't
We
know
had
how
a
they work.
named county program, and I
Yeah,
forget
the county
name.
program,
That person
but-
was here actually and
Yeah.
gave us the name of that. But
PACE,
Oh,
yeah,
PACE,
PACE, that
thank
was
you.
it. But like I
Thank
said, those are essentially low interest loan programs
Right.
for people
Right.
that they're, so they are different, so. I'm sorry? It's, if you would like to come up to speak, I invite you up to speak, sir.
Richard Mountain, 5342 Blue Point. The way the PACE program works, and that's where this whole conversation should go, it shouldn't even be part of the CRA budget. It should be, the PACE fund has $2.8 million for people to use their home basically as the tax assessed. So it gets a tax assessment on their home. So none of this even matters because none of it would come out of a person's pocket. It gets assessed to the property and to the property only.
So it's essentially a lien. It's a lien against the house.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, they're liening the
Yes,
house, okay, so.
right. Exactly.
So again,
It's
when
a
they,
long-term-
when they go to retire, they go to move, they've got to pay that lien, so they got to pay it
It's
at
paid
that
for
point.
when they sell the home.
Well, it's still a loan then, but I understand what you're saying, yes, it's a lien, okay. I sure wish Sandy would say what she thinks. All right, I'll bring it up to council again for one more go-around, we'll take a vote. Anybody else have anything to add to it?
We got a first and a second.
We got a first and a second, okay. All in favor?
aye.
Nay?
Nay.
Nay. The motion does not pass.
May I ask a direction question? Would you like to consider a future resolution that would put back in the HVAC, but still delete the new home and to cap the amount?
I'd be okay with that. I don't see any reason not to wait for Ms. Taylor to be back in this seat, since we've run out of money anyway. There's no.
Yeah, I mean,
there's
essentially, it's at zero.
It's a zero now,
and
so there's no reason not to wait until we got a full house to talk about this
I'm fairly
again.
sure that by the time we come around to the budget, it's going to get a zero again.
Yeah, because this
So-
might or might not have passed. I mean, we're at an even number here.
Yeah,
It fails.
so
because
I don't
of
even know
zero.
why we would be bickering about it, because there won't be any money for it
Well, I don't
anyway.
think we were bickering.
No, it's just the fact that, it has been provided. And look, I guess maybe I form a little bias because I know where the money went. I've got all the addresses of where it went on my Excel spreadsheet. It might shock some people, but anyway, it is what it is. And it's at zero now, so there's really, you can keep it in, take it out, whatever we want, but obviously, it won't matter.
Summarizing.
No, it's just,
All
it's
right,
zero.
next,
There's nothing
next
to talk
agenda item, agenda item number 2, discussion of waterfront overlay district lighting proposal. Mr. City Manager.
Yes, as per previous direction by the CRA, I contacted Duke Energy and asked that they meet me, Jocelyn, and Pat Stewart and Chris Hughes out in the waterfront overlay district. Specifically, I asked them to develop a proposal to install ornamental lighting in the waterfront district on Treadway, Bayview Street, and Cody Avenue. There is a diagram in your packet, and the diagrams show the lighting patterns with the fixtures in the middle of them and what their proposed location would be. There would be a total of 13 fixtures put in under this proposal. It doesn't have to be this particular fixture, but it could be. It does perform well in a pedestrian environment. Ms. Kelly Berry of Duke Energy has estimated the installation cost to be $21,000 to $23,000, and the monthly fixture rental cost, including maintenance and energy, to be $526.23. The lighting fixtures that would be installed are LED. And also, just for your information, there has been a lot of discussion on who pays for what and who the benefiting property owners are. I just wanted to give you some additional information on special assessments as allowed by Florida Statute number 170. That is a methodology that either the CRA or the City Council can use to fund public improvements, and the costs thereof are assessed to the benefiting properties. And the fairness of that is that no one in other areas, whether they be residential or commercial, would pay for this. The benefiting properties owners would pay. And so you may wish to consider that for perhaps this or other improvements as we move forward. I listed this for discussion purposes and to see whether or not that you would like to give me any additional direction on it.
Discussion, council?
I can go if you want, unless
ahead.
Terry wants to go.
No.
All right, well, we have this listed down as an action item, but I think in looking at the action, it's actually an action of requesting some additional information, because all we have basically in front of us. Now, keep in mind, to me, this serves as somewhat of a catalyst in moving forward with the WOD. So, this is a very sensitive item just as well. Now, we've talked about security concerns, safety concerns, et cetera, in this particular region. So that adds to the this component. But, again, I think right away we're drawn to those particular costs, and they've laid out here at $21,000 to $23,000. And then you've got a monthly particular fixture of cost, of $526.23. Now, I realize these are, good guesstimates, but, again, I think the focus of this discussion then is additional information in the two mechanisms that are laid out. And those two mechanisms, of course, are, obviously the CRA components. Keep in mind there is a monthly maintenance factor here and a cost. And obviously the other was the special assessments. So in looking at those two mechanisms, that's all that really is before us. I'd be interested in comments from other council as to what they think in regards to those two mechanisms, and the information that we are requesting, additional information.
Well, I guess, yeah, that kind of hits the nail on the head. It's either to do assessment or figure out some joint enterprise or CRA. And then there is that problem with the monthly. So those are the points that are going to be contentious, I think, one way or another. I guess what I need to know probably is what the businesses think and what they feel is appropriate. And then I can move forward once I know how they feel.
If I'm not mistaken, Mr. Public, don't they have to agree to a special assessment district at that point? I mean, I don't believe that's something we can just impose on them and say.
It's been a while since I've looked into special assessments, but I believe you are correct.
In certain special assessments, they have to agree. Okay. If it's for off-street parking, 51% of the benefiting property owners need to agree. If it's another type of project, streets, sidewalks, lighting, other things like that, they do not have to have 51%, unless you decide that you need 51%. For example, the county, when it paves streets, it paves most of the residential streets by special assessments. Right. And by policy, they will not pave a street unless 51% of the benefiting property owners approve. It doesn't have to be that way. You can do this work, and unless it's public off-street parking, you're not required by Florida statute to have 51% approval.
Well, I mean, again, you've got the initial cost of the lighting, and then you've got the ongoing cost of maintenance and electricity. You know, if nothing else, I sure would like to hear from the businesses and see how they feel about it, because pulling this kind of money out of CRA, just I can't see doing it right now. I just can't. You know, I mean, especially as we're coming into budget season, not knowing where we're going with the CRA, to look at this as being funded strictly out of the CRA right now, it's not something I could vote for. Now, you know, next year may be a different thing. Yes, Mr.
Well, as you mentioned, maybe in opening these discussions, because obviously there just had been two mechanisms here that were prescribed. You know, there lies the balance. You know, one portion is left with a monthly, you know, process, and of course, then there's the initial outlay, you know, of a relatively small sum when we consider, you know, that is a central portion of the city, especially on a weekend. And we did address the security and safety concerns in those zones. Matter of fact, we did so and connected some properties with the recent additions of the paved cement pathway, or, you know, along where the bike trail is. But anyway, just going back to that, you know, you got the monthly consideration. Where does that come out of? You know, maybe that is some creative financing, if you would. And then, of course, you've got the 21 to 23,000. So, again,
I keep hearing the phrase creative financing, but I never do hear exactly just what the heck it is. But yeah.
I'll leave you with that.
I really can't tell by this map where it starts and where it finishes. I mean,
it starts on the left and finishes
along Treadway. It starts at Treadway and Old Post, goes down to Bailey, and then over to Cody Drive, and back out to Old Post. Pursuant to the comments that I just heard, you could schedule a work session and invite all the business owners, and we could do that pretty quick.
Yeah. I'm seeing some nods.
Okay. Anybody else?
oh, that works. I mean, you know, because if this is something, if this can be split up between businesses, each business would pay just a small amount of it. It wouldn't be as hard, maybe, to see this project through.
Right. Right.
Is there any particular other section with the dollar amount on the monthly fee
That seems
that
high.
would be discussed? I mean, I know that would be maybe part of the discussion, but I'm just thinking, you know, we have lighting in the park, we have light, you know, we have other lighting components. Where does this 500 some odd dollar component lie, you know?
As it would stand now, it would come out of the street lighting line item in the general fund budget.
Which is already a
But you
problem.
could discuss that and you have alternatives.
Yeah, okay.
But I could schedule a work session
Oh, I
as
think
soon
so,
as
yeah.
possible
Yeah, I'm in
and
favor
invite
of
all
that.
the business owners. I would say probably a reasonable time to allow the business owners would be 3 to 4 weeks so that they could schedule it, come and attend and give you input on it.
Yeah, great.
All the business and property owners in the waterfront district,
Yeah.
if that's what you would like.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's fine with me. Yeah. Comments? I saw one hand.
Two.
I see two. The hands are adding up.
Good evening, Kristen Tonkin, representing Sunset Landing, 5115 Sunset Boulevard. My question here, I guess, is, you know, remember the waterfront overlay, the project that you developed in 1998? Like, this is part of that. So, and the CRA is part of it. Yes, the businesses could absorb maybe the, you know, the monthly maintenance of it, you know, splitting that between all the businesses, I don't think would be that big of a deal. But, and sharing that expense with them too, because you are, you know, public safety, you know, people walking, people parking, you know, it's all should be relative to the street lighting, because that's where we're starting with it. The street lighting is where we said that we were gonna start with this. And in the city council and the CRA, together with the businesses. And then the one-way, you know, making the roads one way.
Right.
So then we're gonna have more ability to walk on the sides, you know, on the easements, so to speak. So think about all of that. That's where we have to have a starting point somewhere. Yeah, thank you.
Walter?
Eric Soinen, 5419 Treadway.
Walter, sorry.
Do I need to do that? Just first, as a business owner, I'm for anything that we can do to improve the area down there, always. You know, when we think about CRA dollars and things like that, I mean, everybody's got to watch their numbers, the city, the businesses, and, you know, but I think, you know, when you talk about creative, you know, financing, some of the fundraisers that we have at Gildog, some of those people raised a significant amount of money. In fact, they have one coming up for Wounded Warriors on the 11th, and they're expecting a lot of people. So I think there are ways to do that. But I tell everybody who, you know, who I can get an ear from and will listen to me. I was just talking to Steve O'Neill about it. I think the things that you guys have done, the waterfront overlay district, the park conceptual, the dredging, all of that is great stuff. And I think, you know, even if it takes us 10 years, 15 years, we just need to keep moving forward for that so that money is not wasted. And, you know, if it's incrementally, then so be it. But any investment down there, I think, is big, because I think private dollars are going to follow. You know, I mean, if they can see that we are all trying to do something. Keep in mind as well that, you know, with the county allocating $667,000 to the city of Port Richey out of that $900-some-odd-thousand pot, that says something. You know, that says that, you know, there's some interest in this area because it is centrally located in Pasco County. It is the heart to the water. So I truly believe that we as a city here just need to keep doing our own and our best to keep improving so they can see that we're worthy of that kind of money. And then maybe that kind of money will keep coming. So that's my 2 cents. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Oh.
Ms. Spalding?
Sandra Spalding, 8207 Old Post Road. Did I hear it right? Are we gonna be renting those lights? I don't know if I heard it correctly.
That is correct. It is a lease.
Wouldn't it be much better if we bought our lights and had them put them up than renting them for this $500 a month comes into the renting? You know, it just sounds a little way out there. Why should we rent lights? When we could purchase them, in the long run, it would be, I think much better economically.
Just for information purposes, all of the remainder of the streetlights in the city are rented from Duke Energy. And there's advantages to renting in that we don't maintain them. We're not staffed to maintain them. We don't have the equipment to maintain them. We don't have a bucket truck. We don't have the other qualified people that could maintain them. We would have to hire staff to do that. So there's advantages to pursuing this and extending this in the area.
See, I was under the impression we weren't gonna have these huge lights. I thought we were gonna have the decorated lights, like about yo big,
Yeah.
so we don't need a bucket.
But the maintenance of all of it, for example, it happens that ornamental street lighting like this, accidents happen in the vicinity, lights get destroyed, they get knocked down, and there's a substantial effort required in the maintenance. This is all covered in this fee.
Yes, but the fee is so high that, my opinion is, if you're gonna purchase the lights, that $500 a month that you would be spending on that fee, you could take half of that and put it away for maintenance.
The upfront capital costs that we're talking about here of $21,000 to $23,000 would probably be between $250,000 and $350,000 if we indeed contracted this out and bought the lights and had them installed.
It would be that
Outdoor
high.
lighting fixtures
Yeah,
are
absolutely.
extremely expensive.
Alrighty, thank you. Oh, jeez. I forgot, Jen.
So there's no other, you know, she kind of took the words out of my mouth. I was thinking that, you know, is Duke the only opportunity that we have?
No. We could solicit proposals based on this information that we have, and you could evaluate them.
Well, I think we should do that before the businesses come to meet us, and do it if you can do it in the next couple of weeks, and set
It
up a
would
time
take-
and look at it all.
We'd have to put together a specification package and solicit seal proposals in accordance with our procedures.
Yeah.
And
Well,
we can do that, but I mean, I'm going to assure you that just to buy these fixtures
right.
outright would cost more than the $21,000, because what you're having to buy too is, you know, wiring, underground wiring, conduit, and the rest of the installation that's involved. And that's going to be an expensive undertaking if you want to do it. You can do it, and it can be done by the public only entity, but it's just expensive.
It doesn't sound like it's gonna get us to another place than where
Right,
we're at now.
right. Well, I'm just throwing
Other than a
ideas
lot
out.
of staff hours for getting to the same spot. I mean, I'm just saying.
Well, and a huge amount of money up front. you
Yeah,
know. I
which
mean, the
we do not
upfront
have.
cost of paying for something like that is
But
huge.
you know, I can get an order of magnitude estimate, and we could schedule a work session, invite all the business owners, and you have them give you input.
Can we have a consensus to that?
Yes.
I
Yes.
like that idea, because for one, I'd like to get their input as not only to the financial aspects of this thing, but as to the style of the lights, and I think everybody could give us input on that. This is a nice area,
Nice.
we want to make look special, and I think input from everybody in the city would really help.
Yeah, this
Now,
was just
would we invite all the business owners? I like all the business owners.
I would think you would want to invite all the property owners in the waterfront overlay district.
What about all property owners, all businesses in the city of Port Richey?
Well, they're not benefiting properties
Oh,
from
that's right,
this.
so they wouldn't end up having to pay anything
Right.
then, yeah. Okay.
But
all
we
right.
can do that, and that could be, this was intended just to be a starting point for discussion, and see where you want to go with it.
So this will be a couple of weeks.
I'd be at least, I'd say, by the time we develop a mailing list, do the mail outs, that we should schedule it probably a month from now,
Okay.
to give everybody an opportunity to show up.
Let's do it right.
All right. Let's move on to the next item. Agenda item number 3, discussion of waterfront park pier. Sir?
Yes, this once again was on the last agenda, and you certainly have seen it several times before. It was recommended at one point by the CRA to defer this matter to the Port Authority Board for a discussion and recommendation. That did happen at the May 19 meeting of the Port Authority Board. And the Port Authority Board, as I understood their discussion, is recommending that the city solicit quotations on rehabilitation of the pier as opposed to demolition at this time. We can do that. The staff can develop a request for seal quotations or proposals. If indeed we do that, I'm going to recommend that you include several conditions that should be submitted and verified with each proposal. I would like to see that each proposal is signed and sealed by a professional structural engineer, and a requirement and performance and payment bond in the full amount of the project and warranty period be provided to the city. And I'd like to see the completed pier, if rehabilitated, include at least a 5-year warranty on the work and a 5-year warranty against additional settling. And then, of course, our standard insurance requirements should be required, and the contractor should be required to secure all of the environmental regulatory agency permits on behalf of the city. So if you would like us to do the seal proposal, we can do that, and these conditions I would recommend that we include as part of the solicitation.
I think we should. We're sitting here doing nothing with this, and I think we should go forward with that. Dale Massive was here. That's what the Port Authority has asked us to do. So let's do it. And
Well, normally I think, and look, I appreciate all the members, and I understand what they have down here, but, you know, I think we heard discussions earlier out here, you know, and pointed to two of what we have that we're very familiar with. Has this horse not been beat to death already? Do we need to go out a little bit further? You have these figures in front of you, 75,000 and 230,000. Okay, the only choice that seems to be made clear is underlying on this particular document that's in front of us that was dated May 8th, should be demolished at this time. That's it. I mean, what else, what other process or delay can we use with a pier that has been closed how long now? 2 years plus. You know, I mean, we're done here, aren't we? You know, this should really just go forward. What else is there to do? It's all laid out here. It's been laid out for 2 years. Now you want to drag it out further?
Mr. O'Neill, you weren't at the last meeting. So during the last meeting, Mr. Massid and his group came up here and said that they have had people that have looked at it and feel as though that they can give us better pricing. And if you're going to push those guarantees, why not look at it?
I just don't see it getting us any place different than where we're at right now. I've seen the structure. I've seen it for the last over 2 years. And, you know, look, back when, what was it, how long ago was that actually installed? We didn't get what we should have then. We didn't get what we should have then. What was that, Tampa Bay Engineering? I'm not sure who it was, but whatever it was lousy. And we didn't get our money's worth then. Now, I know none of you are going to vote in favor of a $230 renovation on this thing. At least I don't think so.
I'll do a $230 one.
Me too.
$230,000.
Oh.
But, you know, look, I'm sorry that it couldn't have been done right, and it's not long-standing for folks that use it out there. You know, we're talking about Waterfront Park, which has needed attention for years. I've seen umpteen talks here about redoing bathrooms, redoing playgrounds, redoing this, redoing that, and it remains essentially a dog park. You know, that's it. You know, it's still in bad shape, and we got a pier that needs attention. Look, I'm just one vote, but I think it's time that this, you know, not be dragged out any further, and just out of safety concerns, we take care of this already. And then my other question is, based on the 15 to 25,000 that it would be to demolish this, where's that coming from? How are we paying for that? Who's helping us? That's my thoughts.
From what I understood as the liaison for the Port Authority, they want to look at it from several aspects, and with the caveats put on it that city manager would request, I think that's a great idea. If we have to take it down, they want to make sure that we go out and make sure that that can be done at the best price. So they're looking for council to take in other bids, other people's recommendations, other people's insight, because there's one gentleman that thought this could be rebuilt. In further discussion, I don't know if that can be done, but I'm willing to hear what other people have to say that are in the trade. But I think in the end, it's going to have to come down. If that does have to happen, then I want to get the best price to get it down. And then I'd like to have a plan in place to replace it with something. I want both those piers back up. They were the one thing, and I've said this for years now, it's a couple of things that people actually use. And I see people suffering trying to go to fish along the Cody River, which used to be accessible all over the place, and they don't have any accessibility anymore. Everything's private. So it is a shame that we brought our city to the point where people come down to our waterfront to fish, and they can't find a decent pier to fish off of. That's pretty sad, and I want to move forward as fast as we can. I don't see it would hurt us at all to just kind of cast our net across the waters and see what the other opinions are and what else we can come up with there. Maybe some idea we're missing. Probably not, but that is their advice, and I don't think it can hurt us to
Oh, and I
expand our
respect
research.
that. I mean, they, look, near its end, it was covered in graffiti. From a maintenance standpoint, maybe at that point it was closed and people were sneaking on it. And look, I frustrated with it being as long as it has. I have nothing against, certainly the Port Authority Board and its members, looking, as you've noted, also the cost factor in the demolition. Because if I'm hearing right, they probably tend to be more that agree that it's probably going to end up being demolished than anything else. But as far as plans going forward to replace, as we look at Waterfront Park as a whole, I think I would be open to the idea that as we restructure that park, that this maybe becomes then one of those components. But I think to do it maybe before that, we're putting a cart before the horse then maybe. Why not maybe wait, and see what's going to happen with this particular, reconfiguration. We've had great diagrams. We had, actually still have that diagram, as we talked about the restructuring of that park. I would certainly be in favor then of having those discussions to redo that pier, and I'm sure they can understand that. But at this particular point, the safety concern, et cetera, I look at your comments more as a cost factor to make sure that at least we get the demolition right, because I think that's all we got left is to demolish it, and I'm sorry that it's come to that.
As far as the other pier there by Whiskey River, have you talked to Mr. Simpson lately about that?
I contacted their office in Tallahassee recently, and they're on the verge of making a final decision. The legislature is. So
Finally.
I was encouraged, but it's not a sure thing.
Well, as far as Waterfront Pier goes, I agree with most of what both of you said. There's no viable option for us right now without any sense that we've got funding coming that we're going to rebuild that pier anytime soon. There's a lot of things I want to do. There's just things we haven't got the money to do. If we were to do anything, like Steve said, the only logical thing to do right now is tear down what we got. Now, if we got a grant in the future, that tear down cost might be built into the rebuild cost. So if we spend that money now, we may be basically doing ourselves out of grant money we might get later on. I don't know. But the problem is that whatever we decide we're going to put there, and I doubt we decide to put a pier there just like the last one, that would be yet to be decided. I cannot for the life of me look at that pier, and by my opinion, and I know a number of other people's opinion, that the piers were not set correctly, so that the concept of rebuilding that pier putting any more money into that pier as it stands is throwing good money after bad. I'm sorry that the pier didn't last longer than it did, which is what, about 9 years now or something like that? 8, 9 years is last I heard.
I think it was 03.
Okay, so,
If we take that pier down, then, and allow people to go out and at least use that area there, they could fish from there, just off the land. You can swim from there, you could do all kinds of things from there.
Yeah.
So we get rid of the elephant and let people use the property, that's what it's there for. So, the sooner we do that, the better.
What would
And we
be,
can't worry about what happens in the future, whether or not we're gonna get a grant or whatever. Let's get these amounts and move forward. Find out if somebody can give us a little bit better bid and then make a decision to move forward. Get rid of it, let the people use it.
Terry, as the liaison, if I could ask him, as you noted, you had one member that, appeared to share the idea of restructuring, which I think we've essentially ruled out. I don't think would pass, but if you consider the item, where it's actually, being torn down and looking at the cost, have they mentioned how, in proceeding to go forward and getting the very best quotes and doing that kind of thing, can you share some, what maybe there was discussed, or just, any information that you might have on that process? Because, we don't want to keep dragging our feet with this thing. I think, we put our foot forward with the Port Authority members and having them help lead us forward to have this demolished at the right cost.
Yeah, I think the confusion came for them with, I'm not sure of the person they talked to, but somebody came along and said they thought that reconditioning was a possibility. But there wasn't a lot of discussion professionally or otherwise as to how we'd go about that and so on and so forth. I agree with you. It does not look like it can be saved. I mean, it's just not, foundation was not done properly, and I don't think anything you do after that's going to create a stable base. So I'm figuring it's going to have to come down. I think they just want to make sure that, the city gets the best price and proceeds in the best path toward getting that down, and with the possibility in mind, and maybe that's something you could, when you go out to bid on this thing, to ask, their opinion on it. If they have any other, is it savable at all? If there is, give us your engineering opinion on this and how you'd go about it. And if not, what's it going to cost to tear it down?
Was there anything we can get for its components? And then maybe out of the goodness of their heart, those that provided the construction might have some discount vendors of their own that can be provided at a reduced cost as well. So just throwing that out there. It's kind of disgusting that something like that can't last so many years. Maybe I should.
You have some direction, right? So
Well, I mean, it seems to me what we're looking at right now, where the discussion seems to be going, is to look into some different bids for demolition.
Yeah.
Okay, what
as I understand it now, excuse me, didn't
I'm
mean to
sorry.
interrupt, but there is also permitting and engineering involved in demolition. It's not just a matter of calling in somebody who's going to knock that stuff down and haul it out. So, a demolition can be pricey too, to a certain degree.
I can
So.
handle the project.
Well, we would go about this in the same way as we would solicit proposals for rehabilitation.
Right,
All of these requirements would apply
right.
because, performance, payment bonding, and environmental permits, and structural engineering. So we would have to do the same things. You want a performance bond in case somebody or a contractor goes belly up in the
Right,
middle of your
sure.
job.
Absolutely.
Your payment bond, we don't want to be billed twice for the same materials under Florida's lien law. So we would do that. We can put a solicitation for proposals together. If it's your direction for demolition, you would have another bite at this. It would come in front of you, and you would either go with it or not go with it at that point in time, if that's what you wish.
All right, all right. Do we need a motion on that?
If I am looking at 4 nodding heads, that's good enough for me.
Yeah.
Consensus.
Okay.
Okay.
Ms. Spalding? Excuse me. I get a button to make that not happen.
Sandra Spalding, 82070 Old Post Road. You know, that has to come down. We are very fortunate that teenagers and kids have not gone out there and hurt themselves. Other than a dog park, which I don't bring my dogs to, there's a lot of teenagers that hang out there. There's a lot of children that play in the park. I don't know why yous have been dragging so long. You know, when something turns sour, it never turns sweet again, no matter how much sugar you try to put on it. Get rid of it. Don't let somebody get hurt, and then it'll be too late, and it'll be on your conscience. I'll leave you with that. I remembered her.
Thank you, ma'am. All right, so you have your direction,
Yes.
and we can move on from there. Next agenda item, last agenda item, near as I can tell, is agenda item number 4, Bayou Business Association request. Do you want to do a little intro on that?
I'd defer to Kristen Tonkin on this. This is something that was received
Come on.
late last week, and she's got more information than I do on it.
Actually, just go ahead and hand them to Tandy, Tammy, and she'll hand them out. By rule.
Kristen Tonkin, representing the Bayou Business Association for Ritchie. Okay, wait, I have to get my other glasses.
Thank you.
Okay. What you have before you is basically like an invoice or showing a potential job. This all came about because there was talk that the city isn't going to put on the fireworks display this year for Independence Day. So I was trying to think of another way to have a party without the expense of a fireworks display. And I came up with the idea of possibly having a laser light show. And I went around on the internet trying to find a company close by. The closest was in Orlando. And this company that you have before you is from Bluebell, Pennsylvania. They're associates of the company from Orlando. So that man put me in touch with this group. Consequently, they had a scheduling for a laser show in New Orleans on Friday, and then they had a cancellation for the one that was on Saturday. So they said that they could do it for $3,500 for us for an hour from 9 to 10. It would go along with a family-friendly DJ preset CD, and all we would do is provide them with the sound system, and the music and the lights go with the sound. And this is basically what Laser Lights Show is kind of. Hopefully you read my email and you were able to look on the YouTube video and see what he does.
Mm-hmm.
And not to mention that it's a greener type celebration versus the 4th of July, pollution from fireworks. But I don't know, just something fun, and I was hoping that the city would like to pitch in financially. We have the BBA, and we have some private businesses that said that they're going to pitch in, and we were just hoping that you could pitch in. So.
Well, I'm sorry, Don, am I
Yeah,
interrupting
sure.
you? My initial reaction would be, of course, that anytime we have an event downtown, wish we had a downtown, down at the Waterfront Overlay District, the city is making a contribution because we got a bunch of public works guys, we've got police department, we've got a lot of folks that are on overtime. So there is probably more of a cost there. I don't know, you know, Chief, if you'd want to kick in there, other than just a nod yes, which I would believe is the case, that far exceeds the few $1,000s that we're looking at right here. So my question to you would be, what sort of participation are you looking for from the city besides the additional city staff if we were to say we're going to help out with this? And for remembering that an awful lot of these type of events, when businesses run them, they actually charge the city, or you know, they the city actually charges them for it, for
Okay.
the
I was thinking
support.
like $1,000.
We would put $1,000 toward the laser light show itself.
Mhm.
Okay.
It's for the citizens. I mean, they want to have some kind of celebration, you know. and-
No, it's understood, and you know, of course, it's not fireworks. That's what people want to see, but
Well,
you
yeah,
know,
but we can't
it's a
afford
heck of a lot more.
fireworks.
Yeah, it's just a heck of a lot more expensive. That's
Mhm.
all there is to it. I'm sorry for interrupting.
No, I just really wanted to know what we are spending for the maintenance crews and police staffing and whatnot. I mean, what was our input last year? Do you have an idea, guys?
We could get that developed for you. I don't have it right here tonight.
Ballpark?
We probably spent in overtime, probably $1,500 to $2,000 between police, fire, and public works.
Surprises that low.
But sometimes when you take, I know when you have in your line items for in the CRA, when there's additional expense that you need to have additional police, you're taking that money from the CRA for those times, and this is one of the times that it can be used for.
Discussion on council?
Well,
Yeah.
my thought is that we've done fireworks in the past, and the citizens like it. It's a good time for everybody, and I'd like to see us continue. I would prefer that you guys pay for the fireworks and we pay for the cleanup and all the police.
The laser.
Yeah, the laser, yeah. And that would be an even swap. What'd
Well-
you say, Tom? It was about $2,000?
I'd estimate $1,500, $2,000 in overtime, additional overtime
Because
costs.
that's assuming, you know, Pat's guys are out there, Tim's guys are out there, you know, Chief's guys are out there. We got a lot of people out there. So overtime or not, you know, whether it's straight time or overtime, you know, we got a lot of labor involved when there's an event of that hopeful
Well,
magnitude, you know.
but in respect of what you're saying, you still, in past years, had put up, you know, $10,000 and then the overtime and blah, 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 blah.
And
so,
we're not doing it this year.
Yeah, right. So, what?
Well, it's been a standard. We,
It's not open forum, so.
Yeah. Well, it's been it's been a standard. While I understand we have the police component, et cetera, one could argue we have that component every weekend. I live in Sand Pebble, and I've been down at, in our downtown region. It's pretty packed every weekend. That whole area has changed over the last couple of years, definitely. I've been here since '01. That's a whole different ballgame down there. So I understand our contribution is always that. We used to have the birthday down there at the park. Look, Sandy had mentioned it is more than a dog park, and I understand that, but, the park has never been used the way it should be. And I hope one day it is, but in going back to the component, I'm not sure. Look, I would have loved to have seen fireworks too, and I'm not sure if there was even any discussion prior to that would, maybe insurance costs have traditionally have gone up. We've always had basically the same company running the show for the fireworks. Maybe they weren't available this year. I did go on and see the video. I think it is a sell that, sure, it is greener, but people are hoping for fireworks. And the thing is that they'll have some fireworks because there's going to be some local residents, as there is every year, that are going to try to outdo each other and put on a show for us anyway. Now, it might not be the Port Richey show, but it'll be a show nonetheless that I think we could be proud of, and hopefully there's no injuries. But I think as a standard, we've always set something, and I certainly wouldn't be against us being part of a contribution up to X amount of dollars, maybe to help us go forward. I think, you know, we're in a tight position now. People are going to basically expect something. I'm over in Sand Pebble, and people have been asking me, aren't we having fireworks this year? Everybody's asking, and I feel bad that, you know, we're not. You know, I don't know what little Johnny and Susan are going to say, Mommy and Dad, where the fireworks? So I hope there is some. But there is
Johnny and
but little Johnny, there is a laser show, and who knows? Maybe it will be. You know, I mean, I've seen it. It looks pretty good, and we're trying to provide something. I just hope it's going to come out well.
All
So,
I can say
I'm
is
in
this lies
favor.
in the hands of Christian. If it's a flop, it's her fault.
Okay, I take it.
Well, you picked the company. We don't know anything about them.
So if it's
If they don't
$1,000,
show, you're going to be sweating.
if it's $1,000, you know, I mean, look, I know we've spent more in the past. I'm just, you know, sorry we're not having fireworks this year.
Well, you know, I am too, and you know, I've said all along that if, you know, somebody took the reins from a business standpoint, that nobody loves fireworks more than I do, by the way. You know?
We know.
Nobody loves fireworks more than me. But you know, if somebody took the reins early enough in the season, and not just the waterfront district, but I mean, you've got a lot of companies that, for other firework events that they have in various parts of, you know, this county, you can get Walmart, you can get Honda, you can get the St. Pete Times.
Well, maybe the city and the BBA can partner up and do something like that.
I was just
at
gonna
the
say
start of
that
the
now that there's
CRA
agendas.
Next budget,
Yeah.
or next fiscal year.
Yeah.
I hope
And
so.
we can do something like that, but right now we need to talk about what we're going to do.
Right,
like
right.
next
So I
month.
mean, I just throwing that out there
Yeah.
that, you know, it's just that, you know, there's it doesn't take all that much to put on a fireworks show, but it does
Sure.
take more than, you know, we've been sitting here in city council for quite some time now talking about alternative revenue sources and how tight things are, and it's just it's hard. There's a lot of things we're saying no to that we don't want to say no to, and that's just the way it is. Do I have a motion on this? Would somebody like to make a motion at this
We
point?
just need a consensus, because this would
I-
obviously come back to the city manager. They're basically asking for
Well, I mean,
1,000.
actually, it's an expenditure
I
that
mean,
it's well within the city manager's.
I was going to say, it's
realm
certainly
to
within his
spend.
his
But
limits.
I'm sure he'd rather have a motion, and
I would ask that you do that
you know, we just need to
respectfully.
do that. Respectfully, of course. No, that was a given.
Is it 1,000? Is that what you're saying?
1,000 is the
$1,000
term I heard.
contribution
Yes, please.
to the
I
BBA,
heard.
and the BBA would be the contractor or the one that
Correct.
enters into a contract with this vendor.
Do I have a motion?
Yes, I make a motion that we provide the BBA request for funding at the city manager's discretion, dollar amount,
Is that $1,000? Is it-
up to 1,000.
Oh, it's discretion up to
You gotta be more
1,000.
specific than that, Steve.
I just did. I said up to 1,000. So he'd asked what
So
that
he's allowed
max
to give
figure
them
was.
200. That's what I would want you to give him.
Just, you know.
Well, you're leaving it at his discretion, so that was basically the motion, up
You
to
can give it- It is
$1,000.
his discretion up to $1,000. I mean, you know,
Well, he has the ability to spend
I don't have a
that
second.
without-
Excuse me. Right now, by the way, I have a motion. I do not have a second. So
Second.
the floor is closed. There is no discussion between a first and a second
Terry just
when a
seconded.
motion is made.
Terry seconded.
Terry seconded. Thank you, Terry.
But now, you know, I have a question.
Sure.
Um,
I'm sorry. Was that a motion? Was that an amendment to the motion?
He made a second, so we got it.
So just let me be clear then. So Tom has the ability to go up to $1,000, and that's the way
Yes.
it is. Okay.
Right.
That was really weird how you did that. This really floored me. But anyway.
Well, he
that's
preferred a motion be made, but he has the ability to spend more than 1,000 per his city manager.
No, but
we've
stopping
made
him
it.
at 1,000.
We've defined the limit, right?
Yes.
Okay, very good.
So,
Tom,
First and a second.
Is our budget going to suffer terrifically from the $1,000? It's not. We don't have a line item for it.
We can swing this.
yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Ms.
Wait.
Baldy had, we haven't voted it out yet, so you don't want to go
Okay.
yet, have we?
Thank you.
Are you okay?
Motion and a second?
You're done. It's because Terry wants to go home, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. All right, so we have a motion and a second.
Some of us have to go to work, you know.
All in favor?
Aye.
Against?
Thanks, Tom.
All right, folks, that's the end of our CRA program tonight. Please join us again.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate it.